According to a disturbing leak, the CIA believes that Benjamin Netanyahu, the prime minister of Israel, is considering a preemptive war on Iran in an effort to deter Iran from developing nuclear weapons. Now, the CIA does not know for sure based on this leak. So who's to say what the reality of this situation is? But I will say we do trust the source of this report. It was not the New York Times, it was not the Washington Post. The source of this report was Ken Klippenstein over at The Intercept. And the reporting is concerning to say the least, because should this happen, should the prime minister of Israel decide to do a strike on Iran, the United States government is already on the record in support of that effort. So let's give you the details. Before we get to the leak, we need to know about how the leak was obtained in the first place. I think that's an important part of the story. So the leaked document first came to our attention via a report from Ken Klippenstein in The Intercept. And it doesn't seem that there are many other publications writing about this, except the leak was first reported on in April by an Israeli news site called Ynet. Ynet reported that they obtained the document through Jack Teixeira's Discord leaks. So remember, Jack Teixeira was the young man who was the head of this small Discord group where he somehow had access to classified documents and was sharing those classified documents with other individuals within that Discord channel. Now, here's the document in question. There it is, and you can't read it, but I'll tell you exactly what it says in just a moment. So, if you're wondering whether we can trust the leak, again, for one, Ken Klippenstein's reporting about it. Also, the document does contain specific military terms like FISA, meaning that it was dealt with by a special court that authorizes sensitive surveillance for the American intelligence community. There were some elements to this document that were questionable. For one, it refers to Benjamin Netanyahu as the president of Israel as opposed to the prime minister of Israel. That concerns me. I think it would be strange if the CIA didn't know that he's a prime minister, not a president. But nonetheless, here are some important excerpts from the document itself. On February 20th, Israel conducted a large-scale air exercise, probably to simulate a strike on Iran's nuclear program and possibly to demonstrate Jerusalem's resolve to act against Tehran. Earlier this month, the IAEA detected trace quantities of near weapons-grade uranium in one of Iran's enrichment facilities, approaching a declared Israeli red line. So let me just pause for a second and remind you all that there was a deal in place. It involved the United States, Iran, and multiple other European countries. And that Iran nuclear deal ensured that Iran was no longer, developing its, nuclear program, its enriched uranium. And they never admitted that they were developing or using enriched uranium for nuclear weapons. However, the United States was able to negotiate under the Obama administration and ensure that they were not developing nuclear weapons. However, under the Trump administration, he comes in, he rips up the Iran nuclear deal, which paves the way for Iran to develop nuclear weapons because we didn't hold up our side of the deal. Let me continue. CIA, according to this leaked document, does not know Israel's near-term plans and intentions. Israel may wait to see US and international reaction to the IAEA's findings regarding Iran's nuclear program and whether Iran's supreme leader will authorize uranium enrichment to weapons grade before deciding whether to take action. And finally, it says that Israeli president, again, he's the prime minister, but that's what the document says. Israeli President Netanyahu probably calculates Israel will need to strike Iran to deter its nuclear program and faces a declining military capability to set back Iran's enrichment program. So again, this leaked document, it's not confirmed enough for me, right? Yeah. However, the response to this from the United States government is what concerns me. I want to hear what you have to think, what you have to say about this, Cenk, and I'll tell you what I mean.
So look, the document's very important. The reason we keep saying that it's by Ken Klippenstein is because he has excellent sources and that have proven to be correct over and over again in the national security apparatus. So to me, the document is just a small piece of the puzzle because the other things that the administration has said publicly already confirmed that we've given Israel the green light. And I need you to be clear about what we gave them the green light for. Go ahead and start a war in the Middle East. And we're gonna back you up, and we're gonna go fight that war for you. So let me give you things that are already public, so there's no dispute about this. Jake Sullivan, who's the national security advisor.
We have a video of him talking about that, so let's go to that video.
We are also engaging Iran diplomatically regarding its nuclear program, and we continue to believe that it was a tragic mistake to leave the deal with nothing at all to replace it. But we have made clear to Iran that it can never be permitted to obtain a nuclear weapon. As President Biden has repeatedly reaffirmed, he will take the actions that are necessary to stand by this statement, including by recognizing Israel's freedom of action.
Guys, so him saying we're never gonna let Iran have a nuclear weapon is not big news. Okay, so that's what they often say. The question is how, right? The very last thing he said was absolutely critical. He said that includes giving Israel freedom of action. What that means is they can bomb Iran. And once they start that war, we are going to back them 100%. So they now have a giant flashing green light. And you saw it with your own eyes there. Freedom of action, that's exactly what it means. You could ask any person who's involved in foreign policy, etc. We're saying go, okay? Now that's insane, but there's more. I wanna go to graphic 5. This is our ambassador to Israel, Tom Nides. He says, as President Joe Biden has said, this is what he said earlier, we will not stand by and watch Iran get a nuclear weapon, number one. Number two, he said all the options are on the table. Number three, Israel can and should do whatever they need to deal with, and we've got their back. That is not unclear at all. That is a giant green light. Go ahead and start a war with Iran. We would love to engage in another disastrous war in the Middle East. Iran is 4 times the size of Iraq, and its military is far more capable. And by the way, there's no evidence that they're developing nukes, none. And number 3, guys, not only is there no evidence that they're developing nukes, we can end their nuclear program tomorrow by getting back into the same exact deal that Obama signed.
Exactly.
So why wouldn't Biden do that? Here's an excellent clue, graphic number 6. In 2009, after then Vice President Biden said, quote, Israel can determine for itself what they decide to do relative to Iran, i.e. freedom of action. Obama clarified that his administration was, quote, absolutely not giving Israel a green light to attack Iran. Now I give you that because that's the contrast. So I got 1,000 issues with Obama too, but in this case, he said we are not giving a green light, and then he made a deal that took away any nuclear capability that Iran had. Perfectly done, right? Biden, meanwhile, even back then is itching for war. Remember, he voted for the Iraq war. He's basically been a warmonger his whole life, right? And so he's like, no, give him freedom of action, green light. And Obama has to reel him back in. And now that he's president, he's like, oh, fantastic. Let's give him a green light. And we can do another insane, lunatic war in the Middle East.
Yeah, and if you take a step back and you look at the political landscape overall, right? Domestic policy is tied to foreign policy. If you take a look at the negotiations that are needlessly taking place among Democrats and Republicans in regard to the debt ceiling, notice how the Republican Party wants to freeze spending on everything, with the exception of defense. They want to increase spending on defense moving forward. Why do they want to do that? And so I think that they're eventually going to get what they want because Democrats are pretending like, oh, they're backing us into a corner. They're holding the debt ceiling hostage. You have some progressives saying, why are we negotiating with economic terrorists? Jamal Bowman, for instance, was quoted as saying that today, and I agree with him on that. But the important thing to remember is that corporate Democrats are pretending like they have to negotiate with Republicans on this. And in the end, they're gonna give the Republican Party what they want. There will be a spending freeze when it comes to everything that benefits ordinary Americans here in the United States, with one exception, and that would be spending on defense. And it's concerning because, look, first of all, Biden ran on, oh, can you believe what Trump did and pulling out of the Iran nuclear deal? I'm gonna make sure that we get baback in. Of course, he didn't do that. He reneged on that promise. And seems to be some frustration that the endless sanctions against Iran have failed. They want regime change in Iran.
Yeah, when are they gonna get it through their thick skulls, unless they're complete and utter liars, which is not only possible, but likely. But if they genuinely believe that, when has sanctions ever worked in a situation like this? It didn't work in Iraq, it didn't work in North Korea. It's when you have someone who's basically a dictator and the Grand Ayatollah fits that bill in Iran. They don't have fair elections in Iran where anybody can run and anybody can win, anybody can have freedom of the press or speech, obviously, right? In a situation like that, sanctions never ever work, and they're always an excuse for war. Oh, we tried sanctions. What are we supposed to do now? Invade them now? You know it doesn't work, but even more so in this case, you know that the deal that they made with Iran to get their all nuclear material out of Iran worked.
It worked, yep.
It 100% worked, and it was a democratic deal. It was one of the things I gave Obama tremendous credit for. So why don't you just go back into the same exact deal? Remember, the guy who ended the deal was Trump boogeyman. So why is Biden doing the same exact thing as Trump? And so look, if you watch mainstream media, they'll tell you, no, Biden's an angel on everything and Trump's the devil on everything. But really, because look, I hate Trump and he's wrong on 997 things out of 1,000, right? But on this, by the way, we once violated their airspace, Iran's, while Trump was president. And we went in with a fighter jet and a drone. The Iranians could have shot down both and killed our pilot and probably taken the material that we had on the plane, including the intelligence that built that plane, okay? And they chose not to, they shot down the drone. The fact that they shot down the drone shows that they could have shot down the jet, right? So the Pentagon, which are filled to the rim with warmongers, were like, all right, great, let's bomb the middle of Iran, and it would only kill 150 civilians. Jeez. And to Donald Trump's credit, he said, no, that's disproportionate. So we did not do an attack inside Iran. Now, that is a very rare thing that Donald Trump got right. But our job is to be honest with you and deliver the actual news. So look at Trump showing restraint there, maybe the one and only time, but give him credit for that. Now, again, context for Biden, he got us out of Afghanistan. We gave him a world of credit for that. And at that point, it looked like, hey, maybe he's not a warmonger. Maybe he's gonna withdraw these troops and end these endless wars. But here we go, now endless funding into Ukraine. Again, Ukraine deserves help, right? But the question is how much, but those defense contractors, they have Biden 100% wrapped up.
Right.
So they're getting rich over there, they're getting rich with extra defense spending, and now they're flirting with what would be, if you thought Iraq was bad, what would be the most disastrous war of our lifetime,
right?
With Iran.
And with Ukraine, yes. I mean, I don't have a problem with the United States assisting Ukraine in defending itself, if simultaneously there is an effort to engage in diplomatic negotiations and peace talks with Russia. But it's become abundantly clear that the United States government has not only avoided that, they have discouraged that. And that allows for the war to continue, much to the chagrin of the American people who end up spending the money for that, spending our resources, which we could be using here to help Americans who need it, and obviously to the benefit of defense contractors. One final thing I want to mention that was apparent in Ken Klippenstein's reporting here: the United States has been doing more and more provocative military exercises with Israel. So as Klippenstein writes, in January, just weeks before Israel's secret exercise referenced in the intelligence report, the US and Israel conducted what the Defense Department touted as their largest joint military exercise in history, called Juniper Oak. The exercise involved electronic attack, suppression of enemy air defenses, strike coordination, and reconnaissance, which experts said are exactly what the US and Israel would need to conduct a successful kinetic attack on Iran's nuclear program.
And I have one more thing I'd like to add too. So sometimes governments put out retired folks that were in their national security apparatus to test the waters, right? They'll put out a statement and go, hey, he's not in government anymore, right? But hey, this statement's out there, how are people reacting to it? Well, it looks like Israel did that earlier this month because they put retired Israeli Defense Forces Brigadier General Amir Avivi out there to say, quote, Israel might have to deal with the Iranian nuclear program. This will mean an Israeli attack on Iran, which will probably result in a regional war. They're flat out saying it, and then we're giving them the green light. when the Democrats and the mainstream media lie to you and say there was nothing they could have done, remember this moment. They definitely could have said no, just like Obama did. We are not giving you the green light. You are not to start a war in the Middle East and have us pay the bill, not just with our dollars and cents from American taxpayers, but in blood with American boys and girls dying over there. Hell no is the answer. Hell no. It's so easy to end their nuclear program. Just rejoin the deal. Yep. But they will not do it because they don't care about the nuclear program. They just want the war. Thanks for watching The Young Turks. We really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.